white, and blue. I can't lose with the red, white, and blue. My whole crew is the red, white, and blue. I represent the stars and stripes. I am a patriot, a true American. I am a champion, yes, and that's on everything. I will protect my home. I will defend, fighting tooth and nail to the bitter end. I don't play to lose, nah, I play to win. Rain, sleet, or snow in the wingland. What? I don't play to lose. Let me say it again. I play to win. What it is tradition. I'm in the game, playing like Brady. 10 soldiers deep in the field, no Navy. Riding for my soldiers and they riding for me. No matter where I touch down, it's a TD. 2 hands up, yep, field goal.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 24 of Pat's Nation Nightly, now brought to you on the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. My name is Zach Ventola, as always, joined by Ben Belford Peltzman. Ben, how's your evening going?
Fantastic. This is really exciting. Our first official show on the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. We are both pumped to be here today. We have some great topics to dive into throughout the show, and I think this might be our first Friday night show. So very exciting. And I guess we'll start with the news yesterday that the Patriots are adding to the defensive line. Not a surprise given that Christian Barmore might be out for an extended period this season, but nevertheless, they are signing kind of a veteran defensive lineman, Mike Purcell, someone who kind of an under the radar signing. We'll get into it a little more soon, but he was a part of the New England Patriots in 2017, played on the practice squad, and he played college at the University of Wyoming. Throughout his NFL career, he started 45 games and appeared in over 90 of them. He was originally drafted by the San Francisco 49ers, but has played with the Rams, the Bears, the Panthers, the Chiefs, the Broncos, and now the Patriots twice. Zach, your opinions, your thoughts on this signing?
I like it. I mean, it's pretty low downside. There's nothing I would say that could go wrong here. I'm sure it's I don't think that the contract details have come out yet, but I'm sure it's a veteran minimum or close to it. As you said, he's played with the Broncos for the last couple of years, I believe 5 seasons, and before that spent a lot of time on the 49ers as well. Also, again, as you said, about 3 weeks, I believe, with the Patriots in 2017 on their practice squad. So somebody that has some familiarity with the organization, not a ton. He's only here for under a month. But again, I like it. You needed depth there after the Christian Barmore situation. Obviously, hope all is well there and that he can make a speedy recovery. But yeah, I am a fan of the signing just for the fact that it's a veteran at a position that you need depth on.
Yeah, most of his career was actually spent in Denver. Now looking at it, he started 37 games with the Broncos, appearing in 65 of them, and throughout that span, he racked up a little more than 160 tackles, 2.5 sacks, so definitely very productive there in Denver. And like you said, some reinforcement, right? The Patriots previously added Josiah Brunson to the defensive tackle mix. They recently reached a 2-year extension, like we got into last show with Devon Gottschalk, who that was definitely earned by him. And this is sort of all sorts of news coming from this defensive tackle position group. So this is both of these players, Brunson and Purcell, is someone to watch to make that 53-man roster. The Patriots' first game is next week, next Thursday, I believe, against the Carolina Panthers, and everyone will be able to watch that nationally as it will air on NFL Network at 7 p.m.
Yeah, it should be a good time for Patriots fans. Patriots football is back. If you weren't able to get out to training camp in this past week or so, and if you aren't going to be able to within these next couple of days, if you're able to get out to Gillette, go to that preseason game and watch Drake May or the two rookie receivers, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker. The defense, all eyes on them. Should be a good time. Again, Patriots football is back, and we'll see if it's better than ever, but we can only hope. We will be previewing that game against the Panthers on here on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Should be a great time.
Yeah, and getting into the game a little more will be next week, like you just said. There's still no reports out if Drake May will be the starter, if Jacoby Brissett. I doubt we'll see Jacoby Brissett. If Drake May will start, how about Joe Milton, Bailey Zappi? You have three quarterbacks right there. I bet all of them will get some action into the game. But like Zach just said, next week, be sure to tune in. But for this episode, there are some more transactions to cover that happened today. Specifically, early this morning, the Patriots released two players, offensive tackle Tyrone Wheatley and running back Deshaun Fenwick. Wheatley, a little more of a veteran. He was part of the return for Pierce Strong with the Browns last August. And then you have Deshaun Fenwick, who was an undrafted free agent, a running back. So both of those players are no longer with the Patriots.
Yeah, and Wheatley, I believe, was out, or I believe he was waived with an injury designation. So hope all is well with him. He missed practice yesterday, and then obviously was not there today due to him being let go. Patriots did bring in a replacement for him, or seemingly did, with Kellen. I don't want to mispronounce his last name. I'm going to say Deich, but Diesch. I'll have to take some time to look into the pronunciation there. But anyways, Wheatley now out the door. As you said, Ben, he was that return for Pierce Strong last season when the Patriots traded him to the Browns on cut down day. Now out the door pretty quickly. Didn't really do much in New England, unfortunately. And gotta hope that this offensive line is able to really keep the wheels turning. I mean, the starters have looked pretty good in training camp, but Wheatley as a backup, that's where the Patriots have had their struggles, especially. That backup offensive line has been bad in training camp, and hopefully that Wheatley's replacement is able to kind of bring a boost to that O-line.
Yeah, a little more on Dice. He's 26. He actually had a much longer college career than most. Spent 6 years in college. He split that time between Texas A&M and Arizona State. He was then selected in the 2022 draft by none other but the Patriots' division rivals, Miami Dolphins. Short period of time in Miami, only lasted a few months before he ended up being waived by then. Joined the Bears practice squad, where he kind of spent a majority of his time before spending some more time in Pittsburgh, and then eventually going to Cleveland. And he was waived earlier this month with a failed physical. But now he gets opportunity behind the Patriots' top tackles, including Caden Wallace, Ogorafor, and Calvin Anderson. And I guess you can also throw in Vidalian Lowe, although, as you know, both Zach and I are not incredibly high on him.
Well,
we're kind of
I'm going to actually transition that just real quick to a question from the comments, because I think this is interesting. Who's the Pats starting left tackle week 1? Because if you had asked me 2 days ago, I'm saying it's Caden Wallace, but now these past couple of days, Vidarian Lowe has been the starter for the Patriots on the left side. So, Ben, what do you think, though? Do you think it's going to be Caden Wallace, or will it be Vidarian Lowe, or potentially somebody else even?
I think it's Caden Wallace. I really liked what he did at Penn State. He was really good, and I think he's been playing mostly with the number ones in practice in training camp. He's been getting all the reps with the number one offense, which all leads to a sign that yes, he will start. The Patriots really took a high draft pick on him, right, in this past draft. And I really feel like that they only would have done that, right. It was a third round selection if they felt really comfortable with him starting. And I think he will be a week 1 starter. As in Dave Matthews, that is a little bit hard of a question. I got to be honest. I haven't been listening to a lot of Dave Matthews, but I'm gonna disappoint you right now. Crash Into Me is really good. That's the only one I know. So Crash Into Me, Kevin. Thank you for the question.
I'm gonna jump back with that left tackle question just once more, and not the Dave Matthews Band question because I don't even know who that is, if I'm being honest. But but again, yeah, with that left tackle position, Caden Wallace looked good while he was there. The issue is, for whatever reason, now Vidarian Lowe is there on the starting offensive line. He has been on that first line when they do positional drills and team drills. It's been Lowe these last couple of days, despite Caden Wallace really holding up there in his holding up well there in his 4 or 5 days as the starting left tackle. So I think it should be Wallace, and we'll see how he does in the preseason. I think he'll probably get more playing time in the preseason than Vidarian Lowe will, and I also think he has a much higher ceiling than Vidarian Lowe, but we'll see how it goes. I would lean towards Wallace, but at this point, I might think that it's more likely that it's Lowe.
Yeah, and really quick, if you guys have any questions who are watching this throughout the stream, just put them in the chat, and like we just saw, we will answer it right away. We want to get to your questions first and foremost. But moving on just a little bit here with another transaction the Patriots made today. They added a defensive back, AJ Thomas, who is a UFL star. He went undrafted out of Western Michigan in 2022 and joined the Birmingham Stallions, which, if you're not a big UFL person, not a big spring football fan, the Stallions are the best of the best. I really, really enjoy watching the Stallions just because of how talented they are. They're back-to-back-to-back UFL champions, which is really, really impressive. But back to Thomas, right? 6'2", 214. So he's a little bit of the bigger end of a defensive back. He spent, again, a little time in Chicago like these other guys have. And he won a lot of awards in spring football. So this is someone who led the league in interceptions, gets his hands on the ball a lot. So we'll definitely see how he fits into this team. But like we were saying last time, the defensive back room is going to be really fun to watch how it all shapes out.
For sure, and I do like the signing, just as somebody who can come in and be a camp body. I don't see him making a push for the 53-man roster just because that cornerback room is crowded. There are a lot of NFL caliber players in there. Not to say that Thomas isn't one, but when you're coming in late at camp, it is pretty tough to make that extra roster push. But that's somebody who has very high potential. As you said, he is a star in spring football. So if you're able, as the Patriots, to keep him around on the practice squad or potentially give him a spot towards the end of the 53-man roster, although I don't think that that is all that likely, I would like that. That would be ideal, trying to get him back on the practice squad and seeing what he's able to do with the team in the preseason and in training camp. Real quick, I'm going to shift us back to another question. Can't put it on screen because it is through Instagram. But from Patriots 3, who has looked better, Caden Wallace or Layden Robinson? I'm going to answer that pretty simply. It's Caden Wallace. He, again, when he was on that starting Patriots offensive line for, I believe, 4 or 5 practices, he looked solid. I mean, he was doing his thing out at left tackle. I was really surprised that he was able to hold up that well after making a position switch and also switching from college football to the NFL. Robinson hasn't quite had as many opportunities because he is, as a guard, competing with City So and Mike Onwenu for a starting job, whereas Caden Wallace is competing with Vidarian Lowe, Calvin Anderson, people who are more so backup level. But I would say that Wallace has been the better player thus far.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And right now, it's kind of interesting to see how all of it will come together. Having a rookie, especially a third round pick, protect a blind side of a potential rookie quarterback in Drake May is pretty scary to think about. He'll definitely have his ups and downs and growing pains, but I still have him as my week 1 starter at left tackle. Then, of course, I have City So and left guard, David Andrews in the middle, Michael Wenu at right guard for now, and then Chooks Agorfor with that right tackle. He kind of played a little left tackle in Pittsburgh, but I think he's more comfortable on the right side. But that is definitely something, a storyline to watch as training camp continues to go.
Yeah, I would really say that that is probably the biggest storyline outside of Drake May versus Jacoby Brissett, but that might even be coming to an end relatively quick. The starting offensive line is probably the biggest weakness on the Patriots, I would say. I don't know if you would agree, but that's something that they need to figure out quick, and they have been experimenting a ton. First 3 days of practice, I believe, they rolled out a completely different starting offensive line. Then it seemed like they had some continuity with the line consisting from left to right of Wallace, so Andrews, Onwenu, and then a core of four until, again, last couple of days, it's been Vidarian Lowe taking over Caden Wallace's spot. Like you said, that is a huge, huge storyline to watch. I am still pulling for Caden Wallace. I think that he is the man for that job, but we will see over these coming weeks if he's able to really take over control of the left tackle position.
Yeah, and with that being said, we have another question in the chat by Ken Matthias. How many rookies will be starting next week in week 1? Will we see Polk, Baker, and Drake May? I would be incredibly surprised if Drake May doesn't play in that game at some point. I would be incredibly surprised if Javon Baker doesn't play and Polk doesn't. All of them, I think, will see action. I don't think you're putting all these guys in week 1 not being able to play any NFL action.
Yep.
And that's what you saw last year, right? And CJ Stroud played.
Looks like Ben got kicked out for a second from internet issues, but that's all right. He's back in now. Ben, as you were saying, go jump right back into it.
Am I in? What happened?
Yes, you are. You are in.
Oh. Anyway, sorry about that. But you can't be throwing these guys in week 1. I think all of these rookies will get a chance to play.
Yeah. I'm gonna answer it very simply. Barring injury, every single rookie, not just Polk, Baker, May, all those higher draft picks, every single rookie is gonna play. Some more than others. May, I'm sure, will probably get about a half. Milton maybe will get a quarter. Zappy gets a quarter. I know Zappy's not a rookie, but just to kind of put that into perspective, every rookie will play. And, there are guys out there who, like Jalen Polk or Javon Baker or Drake May, they're trying to prove themselves as people who are fighting for starting jobs. Guys who the Patriots think and they think can jump in right away and be a contributor to the team. That's also the case of Caden Wallace and potentially even Layden Robinson, potentially, I don't know how I'm blanking on the rookies now, Marcellus Dial, Jaheim Bell. Those are all guys who could maybe jump in immediately, be contributors to the team. But then you have guys like Milton, or like undrafted people. I'm thinking David Wallace, Terrell Jennings, so many names that could just go off. But those are guys who are fighting for roster spots towards the back end of the roster, or they're fighting for practice squad spots. They are all going to get a lot of run during every preseason game, and that's how they're going to try to fight for their jobs.
And you know what I'm really excited to see, talking about roster spots, is just how the receiver room is going to shake out. You have a lot of guys who deserve that spot. Just looking at it right now, Tyquan Thornton is a guy who's having his best training camp, right?
Yep.
Pop Douglas, he was dealing with a finger injury, but he's gonna be on the roster. Then you have KB, you have Osborne, you have Jalen Polk, you have Javon Baker, and then you have Keishon Butte, who's been shining right now in training camp, and he's been practicing with the ones too. So, and then you have to have Jalen Reed going kickoffs. So there is a lot of talent in this room. It's probably one of the most underrated position groups on the Patriots. And again, it's going to be really interesting to see how this next couple weeks play out, who shines in the games, who has some troubles with drops or separation issues or whatever happens in these next few preseason games.
For sure. I'm going to jump us right back into chat because we have a couple questions coming in. Going to start again with Patriots 3 on Instagram because this is something that I meant to mention when Ken just asked about which rookie will play. Do you guys know what Jaheim Bell's injury is? And do you think he would make the team right now if cut down day was today? So Bell's injury, I do not think that it has been disclosed. He hasn't practiced in probably about a week, maybe a little bit less, but it's been a while since he's been out there in pads and fully practicing with the team. He's mostly just been out there either in a hoodie or in his jersey with no pads, just hanging around. So don't know what the injury is there, but to answer the second part of that question, do we think he'd make the team if cut down day was today? I would say no. And Jaheim Bell was a guy that I was really, really high on coming into training camp. I thought that he was almost a lock to make the roster, which sounds kind of crazy to say for a 7th round pick, but I was pretty high on him coming in. I even thought he had a chance to make a push for the tight end 2 job. And while he has had some good highlights in one-on-one drills, I don't think that overall he's looked all that good. I mean, he's had a few times where noticeable amounts of drop passes, and there was at least one case, but maybe even multiple, where he was lined up in the wrong position or he didn't know the play or whatever it may be exactly, and they just took him out. So that's something that really kind of jumps out as, well, if you don't even know the playbook, if you don't know where you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to line up, when you go in motion, you're in a way a liability on the field. So if today was cut down day due to his injury and due to what I just mentioned with him having some issues on the field, I do think that he would get cut.
Yeah, and talking about tight ends right now, Austin Hooper is someone who I keep seeing in tweets shining. He is having a really good camp. Has great hands, kind of that veteran presence on the team, and is someone who has been practicing with the ones and the twos. But I don't know, Zach, you've been at camp, you've been seeing all these players. What are your thoughts on Austin Hooper?
He's been consistent. He has really jumped out as a guy who didn't really come in with the highest hopes for him. I mean, as I just said, I thought Jaheim Bell was going to make a push for that tight end 2 job, but Hooper's kind of been everywhere. I think it was day 1 or day 2. He made a heck of a grab over the middle on like a go ball kind of seam from Jacoby Brissett where he dove out, was able to snatch it just right out of the air. I don't know if he's even had a single drop in camp. Like, he has been consistently solid. Not a guy who I would say is going to make a lot of those highlight plays, like I just mentioned with the Jacoby Brissett throw to him over the middle, but he's going to be out there and he's going to do a good job, and definitely a good enough job for a tight end too.
Yeah. And that's a really good point to kind of lead us into our next question here, Zach. Do you want to put it up?
Oh, yep. One moment. So again, from Ken on the Twitter account, will we see Christian Gonzalez play this preseason, or will his first action come in week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals?
And I'll just answer that
Go
really,
ahead.
really fast. I'll answer that really, really fast because he is someone who I strongly believe will not be playing any snaps. Someone coming off an injury, you might see him in one series, maybe one at the very, very end. But he is someone has a spot on this roster. Going off in my head of people who I don't expect to see at all in this preseason, Matt Judon, Jabril Peppers, Kyler Duggar, probably Josh Uche, Christian Gonzalez, Jonathan Jones, Hunter Henry, Kendrick
Yeah.
Bourne, KJ Osborne, Michael Wenu, David Andrews. I'm just trying to think these guys who all have their roster spots solidified already. There was just no point in playing them in the preseason.
Yeah. So Mayo said recently that I think it was like a week ago, that he's yet to figure that out. If starters will play, how much they will play if they do. But typically under Belichick, he would have the starters play for about a quarter in the second preseason game. And that would be everybody. That would be Tom Brady. That would be Cam Newton when he was QB1. Except, was there even a preseason that year? I know it was all wacky because of COVID, but
There was a few preseason
there
games.
was. Okay. So, but Cam Newton when he was starter, Mac Jones when he was starter, any bona fide starter would still play for about a quarter in the second preseason game. So I would expect really Gonzalez and everybody else except for probably Kendrick Bourne still coming back from that injury to play sometime in the preseason.
And before we get to our next question, I kind of want to hit our final little segment here because I know we have a bunch of questions. Is what is happening with the kicker battle? You have someone, Chad Ryland, a rookie last year out of Maryland. He struggled. He struggled a lot last year, like
Yeah.
a lot. And he's 17 of 18 in training camp. Then you have Joey Sly, a veteran coming from Washington, played in LA a little bit, and he's struggling a little bit in training camp. And people are thinking that should have been a little opposite, like I would expect Chad Ryland to have a much tougher path to make this team. And it looks like he's figured it out. Because he has been spot on during training camp, has no accuracy issues thus far, and we all know he has the leg. So if he could just find the goalpost a few more times last year, I think the Patriots would find themselves in lots of closer matchups for sure.
Yeah, you really said it. I mean, I don't have much else to add on there. I think Ryland has pretty clearly been the better kicker so far, and it's still pretty early on, but I think he has been better than Joey Sly, and seems like he's figured it out. I think he's only missed one kick in full team drills this training camp. Sly also, I think, has only missed two, so uh, that's good to.
I thought he missed more.
He might have missed more. He might have missed 3 or 4. I'm not exactly sure. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but uh, you can never have too many good kickers. I mean, if one of them makes the roster and you can get the other on the practice squad, let's say it's Ryland makes the 53 and then he looks how he did last year in the regular season, then you still have Joey Sly on the practice squad and all is good. I think Ryland is winning the competition right now. I think that he's going to continue that, but you never know. He looked good in the preseason and in training camp last year as well, and then we all know what happened in the regular season. So we'll see how that all turns out.
Zach, next question. Any more questions on Instagram or?
Yeah, we got one more from Ken. I believe this will probably be our last one before we wrap up. As much as you guys know, what will Joe Milton's role be with the Patriots? Is it similar to Malik Cunningham's last season?
So I don't believe it's going to be similar to Malik Cunningham's because he has not had any reps at all. If I'm not wrong, right? He has
He is
had no
not. Yep.
reps in
Yeah.
wide receiver
And
type. Yeah.
when Cunningham and even Danny Etling, dating back a few years ago, when they were with the Patriots and were making that transition to package players, receivers, whatever it may be, they were taking reps with the pass catchers during training camp. So
But as I think, who was it? It was someone on FS1, I think, or Fox Sports. Colin, what's his name?
Coward.
Yeah. Um, basically said that Joe Milton has the upper hand, and that's coming from Michael Hawley of NBC Sports Boston a few days ago, saying like Drake Mays looked awful. This is awful. He's a lost cause. Mac Jones 2.0. He's seeing ghosts. Yada yada yada. That was after one practice, one full training camp practice. He said that. So obviously a little bit of an overreaction there. I think Joe Milton makes his team just because you can't really afford losing him. You spent a 6th-round pick on him, so I am assuming he is going to stay in New England. But again, these roster spots are going to start getting tight. He is one of the last players I have making the roster. He's still on the roster, just because I think the Patriots will have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. I think Zappy goes, unfortunately, or not unfortunately for a lot of you guys, but I personally like him. But I think Joe Milton has a spot on this roster.
Yeah, real quick, just last call for questions before I answer this one and before we wrap up. Again, if anybody has any questions at all, put them in down in the comments, and we'll throw them up here. I don't think Milton will have any sort of pass catcher role, and maybe he should. Maybe he should be a package player, like Wildcat or whatever it may be. I think that could be effective, but you also look back to what I believe was his post-draft press conference. I think a reporter asked him, have you had conversations with the Patriots about switching your position and going to tight end? And he shot that down immediately. He basically said, no, I would not do that. So I just don't see it happening now. It seems unlikely that he would do that. And yeah, once again, I just think that he's going to stay at quarterback, but he could look effective in that sort of role. So I wouldn't rule it out for next year, but this year I would say he's just going to solely be a quarterback. One more question again from Ken. Will the Matt Judon contract be dragged out, or will it be solved by week 1? And this actually brings up a question, Ben, that I asked you before the show started, that kind of works in with this. Do you think that Judon, him practicing recently, which, by the way, this is the first time he's practiced with full pads since holding out and holding in. Last year, when he was holding in, didn't have a fully padded practice, even though the hold in went until August 4th. He would not practice in pads. This year, again, now holding in or holding out kind of has been both ways. He now has practiced in pads. Do you think that is because he knows he's going to get traded and the Patriots said, hey, it's be a better look for you if you're out there in pads and then you can get up and running with your new team? Or do you think that it's just a sign of a contract resolve to come?
Honestly, I don't think it's both, because I don't think he knows what's going to happen, and I don't think the Patriots knows what's going to happen. I think this is one of these things where it's going to take time, and that's okay. It's okay to say Matthew Judon is hilariously underpaid right now. Like, it's the facts. Like, he is really underpaid. And I don't understand the Patriots making this whole thing out of it. They've paid maybe every single other person that they should have paid this offseason. They've paid. They've made all the decisions, and re-signing and extending all these kind of good role players, free agents, Kendrick Bourne, Kyle Duggar, all these other players, right? I name them every show, but it's really important that they've done that. But at the same time, why have you not re-signed Matt Judon? I get why he's upset. Honestly, I think he should be more visibly upset with the team, and he's kind of handling it better. Monday, I think, was a little overblown what was happening. I think he was having a heated conversation with the coach. I think that was pretty overblown on Twitter and whatnot. But genuinely, I think he is really, really underpaid, And if I were in his shoes, I would be holding in until I get a new contract. It's one of those things where, like, Gottschalk, like, he he was still playing on a, like, he still had 1 year left, and Judon does
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
But he's at a little different part in his career than Judon is. He's kind of still, Gottschalk is still kind of young, right? He's mid-20s. I want to say he's like 26 maybe.
I think he's 29, 30. He's I think 2 years younger than Judon, but that still makes a big difference at that age. I mean,
Okay, he's 29, so he's not
yeah.
26. I thought he was a little younger, but still, Judon, like, that, he's just at a different point in his career, right? Than Judon is, and I kind of understood that extension. Judon, I mean, it should be coming in the next couple of days, hopefully. But if not, you're not gonna get much trade value for him, so might as well extend him.
I don't even have anything to add on to that. You got it kind of right on. My apologies. If
You good?
yeah, I lost my train of thought, but we're good now. With Judon, if this issue is not resolved soon, I think it will be just a trade, right? If he's not back, like, fully practicing with a new contract within a week, I think he'll be out. But if that's not the case, then we will see. Anyways, I think that's going to end it. We had another question in the comments, but I accidentally got booted for a moment, so I can't even see it anymore. So if you sent that comment, I apologize. Send it in on our next show. I promise you we will answer it. Thank you all for listening. Have a great night. We'll see you next time.